If you've watched my channel before, or you follow me on Instagram, or you're a listener or a watcher of the Foxhole Chat podcast I do, you know that I'm a massive RAF fanatic. And now, more recently, I've started to delve into the war grave side of things. But today, we're going to combine both of those things. So if that intrigues you, stick around and let's explore this Commonwealth War Grave site near Chester together. Hello and welcome back to the Echoes from the Past YouTube channel. You join me today and I'm in the Blacon Commonwealth War Graves Commission site here just outside of Chester. We're actually only just over a mile northwest of Chester city centre, and yeah, when I came across this place again, obviously I got very excited and I jumped at the chance to come and highlight this amazing place to all of you lovely people. So let's dive into it. So as I've mentioned before, I love a good notice board, and this being a CWGC site, they have a notice board here explaining a bit about the cemetery itself, which is amazing, and to see a nice picture there, a nice archival picture as well. And yeah, like I always say, love a good notice board because, you know, say you're here to visit a relative and you come across this site and you think, oh, what's that? You have a read, and then you're down the rabbit hole and you're afflicted by the Second World War as well, which is always good, you know, the more the merrier. These sites for the Commonwealth Graves were set aside early in the war, but they were largely unused until mid-1943, when the larger of the two plots was designated as one of 6 Royal Air Force regional cemeteries. And then once they'd kind of been designated as these RAF cemeteries, the Air Ministry ordered that all Dominion Air Force dead were to be buried into one of these regional cemeteries. So this covers the area of kind of North Wales and bit of northwest England as the region that it covers. Amongst the several thousand civilian burials that you can see just over my shoulder there are over 450 Commonwealth War Graves of the Second World War at this site near Chester. Just under the 400 of those that are commemorated here are Air Force dead, and over 191 of them are from the Royal Canadian Air Force alone. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background of the cemetery itself, but I wanted to dive into 3 of the men that are buried here. One that I've already have a little bit of history with myself, so let's check those out now. And here is the first gentleman that I wanted to highlight today here, and this is the final resting place of Fred Roscoe. He was born in 1914. He was the son of Thomas and Emily Roscoe of Ashton in Makerfield in Lancashire, so a Lancashire lad like myself. He was also the husband of Frida Roscoe, also from Ashton in Makerfield in Lancashire. And to visit a fellow Lancashire lad, this one's a bit special as well. So in terms of his wartime service, he enlisted at Padgate between September 1939 and February 1945. As it says there, he was a leading aircraftman in the RAF Volunteer Reserve, and that means he will have worked on the aircraft. He will have been organising things, you know, taking care of the pilots themselves, so still an integral part of the RAF. And he died on the 4th of April 1945, and I just think it's very sad. You know, he served pretty much the entirety of the war, and you know, he died just before it came to an end. And the notes that I saw on the notice board said that the people who are buried here are more than likely from, you know, either training accidents, and as we've seen from the crash sites that I've been to, a lot of training accidents took place here or in this region, you know, North Wales and a bit of northwest England as well, which is very, very unfortunate. But yes, a fellow Lancashire lad, very, very special to visit. And we've literally just come behind that first grave of Fred Roscoe there, and I came across this one, and this is one of the ones I wanted to visit. Now this one's even a bit more special because if you watch my recent video where I visited the crash site of Lancaster, this is the grave of Harold Nielsen, who was on board that same Lancaster, that Lancaster NE 132, when it crashed on the 6th of February 1945. So yeah, this one's a little bit more special. This feels very full circle to me, which is really, really nice and really special. So Harold Nielsen was born in 1913. He was son of Harold and Jessie Nielsen of Vina del Mar, Chile, which that was a very, very interesting detail to come across. So clearly his parents came across before the war, way before the war, even before the First World War probably, and they started a life here. He was a sergeant in the RAF and worked his way up after first joining the RAF Volunteer Reserve. And obviously it says there he was the air gunner, and that was the position in the Lancaster when he unfortunately passed away in the crash. So like I said, he worked his way up. He first enlisted at Euston in London after November 1943. And yes, it's just really special to come and visit Harold's grave and come full circle on his story. And here is the last grave that I wanted to highlight today, and this is the final resting place of Frederick John Harper. And as it says there, he was a warrant officer in the RAF, and he was actually based at Cosford, which is very, very local here. It's where the Midlands Museum is now, an amazing place that I've been lucky enough to visit. So he was based at Cosford and was part of the Technical Training Command, as Cosford during the war was one of the many training bases around the UK during World War II, similar to RAF Valley in Wales. That was a training base as well, and still is today, and so is the base at Arden as well, that I've also spoken about in a previous video. So he died on the 9th of February 1944 at the age of 40, and as I said before on the notice board, it said a lot of the men who were buried here unfortunately lost their lives in training accidents, so that's what I assume has happened with Frederick John Harper here. I think it was a training accident that took place at RAF Cosford. And in terms of his personal life, he was the husband of Gladys Evelyn Harper of Luton, Bedfordshire. And again, it's just sad that, you know, he passed away at a very late age for those days. You know, a lot of the war, you know, you think 19, 20-year-olds, but, you know, to be the age of 40 and leave a wife behind, that must have been very, very difficult for her. What I also wanted to do today while I was at this amazing site is bring some items back, a bit like when JD and Eric Dorr do from the YouTube channel The History Underground. They take items back to the battlefield, and these aren't wartime used items, unfortunately, but I still thought it would be a nice idea, so I brought with me a set of RAF pilot wings and my Spitfire coin as well, and I just wanted to place these and get some nice shots in front of the grave. I thought it would be a nice full circle moment that, you know, I would bring back something that these men would wear in their uniforms, and possibly an aircraft that they were involved with and worked with as well. I thought that would be a nice full circle moment. Just wandering around the site here, trying to find the graves that I've done my research on, and I came across this chap and noticed that he has a DFC. Now, if you don't know what that stands for, it's Distinguished Flying Cross. Now, that means that because he was a pilot, he probably was involved in quite a, not big battle, but he was a very skilled pilot. To earn that, he could have shot down a large number of aircraft, or just showed incredible bravery on a certain sortie. So I think he definitely earned his pilot wings. Further down, literally one grave over from that first grave that I just showed you of the gentleman with the DFC, I found this gentleman who is a navigator on a bomber who has the DFC and DFM. Now, Distinguished Flying Cross, DFM is Distinguished Flying Medal, and to me this says, because he was a navigator, you know, the bomber that he was on, whether it be a Halifax, a Lancaster, Stirling, they were involved in some pretty heavy combat if he was to get a DFC and DFM. So yeah, I'm very sad that he died after the war as well, or just after 1946 as well. Very, very, very sad. So there we have it, a nice little trip out here to another Commonwealth Graves Commission site, and this has been really, really special. It's a beautiful day here. And yeah, I would just encourage anyone, if you go on the Commonwealth Graves Commission site, you can look up where all the locations are here in the UK and abroad as well, and you can put in your postcode and you might find one that's close to you. And I would encourage anyone to do that. You know, you don't have to know anything about any of the men or women that are buried there. You know, they're often beautiful sites like they are here, you know, well maintained, very well looked after. And yes, it's been really nice. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss out on more interesting sites like this. And if you want to check out my latest video where I went to another aircraft crash site, you can check that out here, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.